Hello, everyone. I'm Crystal Chatham with AI Experience, and today I have a special guest with me. His name is Tim Howard. He's the managing partner of Fortify Experts and has put together a solution to help enterprises answer how do they put guardrails around their AI and make sure that they're compliant with their cybersecurity. So, without further ado, welcome, Tim. I'm happy to have you on today. How's everything going?
It's wonderful. Thanks for having me, Crystal. This is an exciting opportunity to kind of chat about what so many other people are talking about. This whole AI, you see it all across the newspapers. There's a lot of excitement about it, but there's also a lot of fear about it. And I think being able to put this in the forefront allows us to address kind of the elephant in the room.
Yes, definitely. So I know that me and you have had several conversations. We've known each other for a while, and you're doing so many great things in the cybersecurity industry. And so, one of the things that I would like to ask you, just starting off, is your work focuses on simplifying cybersecurity through people process technology. How is AI changing the way leaders should think about the security strategy today?
There's been I would say, a major shift. And if you have to think about this, we have increased our spending by about 15%. It seems like almost every single year in cybersecurity. But yet, successful ransomware attacks have actually continued to increase at even a faster pace. Last year, from 2024 to 2025, successful ransomware attacks went up 32%. But yet
Hmm.
we're spending more money. So we are losing the battle against ransomware. And, and the biggest challenge that we have is that you used to be a good hacker, you had to be a technical person. With AI, now anybody can be an attacker. They can
Right.
use AI to develop techniques to be able to get in. And so even over the past year, the ransomware groups that are being tracked has increased by over 40%. So we've got such a massive volume that's coming at us, and they're getting more and more creative. So we absolutely have to take a very different approach. What we've been doing has not been working. We've added all these additional layers to our security stack, and they're just
Right.
now attacking the different layers. They've just figured out, hey, the more complex that we get, the more opportunity is to find vulnerabilities in that stack, and they come in through one of those doors. So
Right.
that's really what we've been trying to get and beating our heads against the wall for about the last 2.5, 3 years. And I really feel like we've come up with a solution that's pretty incredible. That it has been taken directly out of the Department of Defense. They've taken a whole different route, and so that's what we've kind of been leveraging, is just a very different approach.
Yeah, I agree. I know that we've had the conversations about things like this. And even with me being in cybersecurity, I had this conversation previously that our attack surface is so broad right now that we could focus heavily on criticals and high findings and medium findings, but the threat actor can still come in just at the lowest the lowest vulnerability, the lowest point of threat exposure. And so having something to help us figure out where we can look, how to scope it, how to maintain it, I think will be helpful. I'm interested to find out more about the solution that you guys are offering and what you think it's doing as far as answering to some of those key risks that we've talked about so far.
Yeah. When we look at the ecosystem, we look at where the vulnerabilities are. And again, AI is going to just accelerate the ability to take advantage of those vulnerabilities. So we have to kind of look at the entire stack. of where most of the threats and the attacks come from. The number one space is the endpoint. So the end users and the endpoint devices account for about 85% of all of the successful attacks. So we need to start there. Now, our typical approach in cybersecurity is let's put all these tools on the endpoint. We're gonna manage out in the wild. But our challenge is that there's also corporate data out there in the wild. What scares me the most is that we are now pushing more and more compute further away from the corporate ecosystem. There are now laptops and even tablets that are enabled to have AI on the individual device. And for me, that scares the heck out of me because what that means is that AI then can be weaponized directly on that device against the corporation. And
Mhm.
so we should be thinking very differently. We should actually be bringing that compute back and centralize the compute. And so that's been our number one task is how can we do that? If you call it the dumb terminal like we used to have in the 60s and the 70s, where you have a centralized compute, everybody is used to having all of their convenience out of their fingertips. And so in our solution, that's what we've really been focused on is how can we make it feel like you're on your normal device, but yet really have centralized compute where no data ever leaves the corporation. And that's
Mhm.
kind of the uniqueness about this approach is we got to be start thinking about how do we take the endpoint out of the equation. How do we make here's the keynote, how do you make the endpoint disposable
Mm.
where you no longer care if it gets stolen, you no longer care if it gets a virus or something like that. It's not interacting directly with the corporation. And
Mhm.
so isolation is the key word that we're working with.
Yeah, makes sense. So, with that, how would you say that executives do you feel like executives are feeling the pressure to move fast with innovation and speed? Having agentic AI now, like you said, that introduces a whole nother level of risk. Do you feel like that's the pressure that's really heavy on executives?
Yes, and it should, okay? Because there are so many great productivity things that can come as a result. We use AI every single day. I use it. In fact, quite honestly, our solution was enhanced by AI. And what I mean by that is we went to the market and looked at what solutions were out there. Uh, and where the gaps of what our vision was, that we essentially wanted to have an out of the box solution we could drop in and be immediately SOC compliant, CMMC compliant, all of these. And we found solutions, and I literally went to AI and said, hey, find me the gaps and let's figure out how to fill those gaps. And so we created a solution using AI. You can advance your cause so much faster if you are using it. I'll tell you, the way I use it is I think of AI first. So I can solve a problem, but why not go ahead and just ask AI? And it may not give you a complete answer, but it's probably going to give you an 80 to 85% answer. So now I'm not spending brain power to at least get the basics done. So in any business, even a small business, you now can kind of create almost like a board of advisors around you. It's like having the best college professor sitting around you in every single topic that you need, whether it's technical, financial, marketing, and you can enable that. And so why not take advantage of that? But on the flip side is you don't want your crown jewels getting out. You don't want your ideas getting out to the wild. And so to create what we call containerized AI, It's not that hard. A lot of people keep thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to build all this technology, and it's really not that hard. Uh,
Mhm.
you can build these models in literally in our system, in other systems, where you containerize it, you control what it learns, and then you control how it communicates to the outside world, or completely eliminate that so that it is a literally houses only your information. I can give you a quick example, like for one bank. They basically wanted to create a bot that would help their tellers problem solve. And so
Mhm.
they took all of their, internal knowledge and just created essentially a little LLM that now a teller can either by voice or by chatbot ask any questions. A customer comes in, says, "Hey, I've got this particular problem." They can just ask that question. Immediately, they get their own internal processes popping up. And so that it's trained on their data. Well, they don't want to share that data outside, right? They don't want the
Right.
account numbers. They don't want the personal identification number going outside of their environment. But that's a great quick way that you can do in literally a day or two.
Mhm.
Why not take advantage of that? But you just have to do it in the proper way.
Right. And I like how you brought it back to containing the problem, the risk. We talked about how with the executive, it they feel the pressure of speed, being innovative, implementing AI, but then they have to also think about how do they set up the guardrails, responsibly deploy AI, right? And so the solution that you put together, which is Fortified Desk, I'd like for you to dive a little bit deeper into it, maybe show us something so then we can see what benefit that would bring to an organization, whether it's through, mitigating the risk or even being compliant so then they can continue to conduct business because that's actually a big part of it as well. So I'd like to know a little bit more, and I know that you're going to bring something up to share with us.
Yeah, you bet. So I'll show you a little bit about what we've been working on. I'll just share one quick slide that will give you at least a high level of the concept that well, not concept, it's fully deployed, but really how we came about that. So you should be able to see this now. And essentially, our philosophy is we have all these applications and what I'll call just sprawl of technology. Okay. We've got legacy applications. We've got AI that we're trying to develop in house. We've got all of these cloud based applications here over on the other side. Most corporations have anywhere from 50 to, say, 200 cloud based applications that they're working with. And there's no centralized control over this. And so our approach is to essentially have a secure access layer in the middle that allows you to fully manage the user's identity and authentication and the amount of access that they have. So it's always about least privilege. You don't want to just give them full access. You only want them to have view only access, or limit what they can do with the data. And so this kind of secure access layer allows us to basically control the entire user control plane, as well as what they can do with the data and the workspace. And so our whole philosophy here is to isolate both the AI and even legacy systems. One of the big areas that we're working with is like CMMC. You've got
Mhm.
what's happening in that world is, if you're going to be a defense contractor, all of your applications have to meet a certain standard, probably one of the most strict standards that's out there. Um, and if you've got legacy systems that do not have the modern controls, everybody's in a panic mode. Well, this philosophy allows us to completely isolate those and bring up the standard of security so that your AI legacy systems and on-prem systems all inherit the level of security that you need. And one of the ways we do that is essentially we build an enclave around that data center, or it could be a desktop, it could be a server, around that ecosystem. And then we literally mask it off of the entire network. We've got a cool technology that creates a stealth network to where nobody outside of your organization can even see that compute. It completely
Mhm.
masks it. On the flip side, with all the cloud that you're working with, we have a single point where, say, for instance, a user has 30 different accounts that they're allowed to get access to. We take that down to one control plane. The user doesn't even have access to the passwords. They can't access those systems unless they go through the system. They can't reset the passwords. You've got your even a physical authentication where you'll use your phone. It's got to have Face ID, biometrics. Even in some cases, we're using the CAT cards or YubiKeys to physically validate that person is who they are. And then we carry that authentication all the way down to, say, Azure or SAP or any of your other control, I
Mhm.
mean, other platforms. And then the best part about this is that all of that compute, your entire ecosystem, then can be pushed through in what we call a streaming desktop.
Mhm.
Think about this. Do you ever go to Blockbuster to pick up your movies? Right? I mean,
It's
that's
been a very long time since I've
right.
been to
I don't even
Blockbuster.
think they exist anymore. You go to Netflix to watch your movies. It's
Yes.
a streaming service. It's more secure. You can't corrupt those movies. You can't,
Mhm.
unless they authorize you, you can't download them. The same thing goes true for when was the last time you bought a CD? Everything is streaming. Even
Right.
your games are streaming these days. You don't go down to GameStop anymore. This
Mhm.
is exactly the same technology that we're now pushing out to the desktop. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like, why didn't we think of this before? And so if you can now have full immediate access, there's no delay. Sometimes you see these I'll I'll say, Azure AVD or the what we call virtual desktops, where maybe even Citrix type desktops, where when you're typing, you have to wait for your character and your mouse to catch up to you,
Mhm.
and it's highly irritating.
Very.
This is a completely different approach. It's
Right.
completely different. It is immediate. You feel like you're working on the desktop for the first time. You can now feel like you're working on the desktop, but have full centralized control. No data ever leaves the corporation. No data ever gets on the desktop.
Mhm.
If you lose your desktop, if it gets stolen, if it breaks down, you don't care.
Right.
That desktop can be a inexpensive Chromebook. And
Right. And I think
a
that's
whole
great,
lot,
right?
right?
That helps resolve a lot of problems, actually, a lot of pain points that we see, even again, as me being in cybersecurity. We're always thinking about, the asset management aspect. We're thinking of the different regulatory bodies that we have to comply with, even looking at ISO. You just mentioned CMMC. So I think this is great, and I look forward to seeing it in action, seeing you be able to demo it, learning more about it, and understanding how it can benefit the different corporations and even small businesses too, right? And so just kind of going back and, I know we're wrapping up, but and I appreciate you taking the time to share what you have going on with Fortified Desk. Just kind of going back to it though, what is the main benefit and the key takeaway that you feel like people need to know about Fortified Desk and how it's helping us address some of these risks that we're seeing, especially with agentic AI,
Mhm.
generative AI? How do you, what's the biggest impact that you feel like people need to understand and the key takeaway?
And you slightly mentioned the whole small business thing, and I think honestly that small businesses are in a very difficult situation. Your big corporations, big banks, huge corporate, they've got massive security teams, and they can monitor all their stuff. They've done a really good job of locking everything down.
Hmm.
What this does, it allows us to drop this technology in on a small business, a 5-person organization, and have the level of security that, say, an Exxon or a Chevron, or a large company has the ability to create that ecosystem. This one is a drop-in answer. You don't have to worry about the security stack. You don't have to worry about tweaking all the stuff. And I think that was my biggest goal here: is how can we bring this down to a small business level and actually make it more affordable than what you do today.
Yes.
And so we're increasing security. We are actually lowering the cost of compute, lowering the cost of securing. I mean, I've got clients who are telling me they're now saving over 50% of their IT spend because they don't have to have all of these extra security tools and the IT staff to manage all those tools. They can use that IT staff to do way more important stuff than just tweaking configurations and going out to the desktops to try and figure out how to make a desktop work, because there's a limitation out on that desktop. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because it can impact the smallest company to certainly the largest company when you're talking hundreds of applications and having a single control plane.
Yes. So I know that you'll be at the AI experience, but where can people find you online? How can they get in touch with you?
Certainly through LinkedIn. If you just go to LinkedIn, type in Tim Howard, you'll probably see me. I've got a very good presence out there. Fortified Desk is our desktop version. What I showed you is actually the entire ecosystem that we're calling Fortified 360, because it's
Mhm.
more holistic than just a desktop. So you can look up either one of those, and certainly find me at Tim Howard at fortifiedexperts.com. Reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you about your specific situations as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, Tim. I really appreciate it. Tim Howard will be a part of our implement track for the AI experience, offering solutions to small, medium, and large businesses on how to contain the risk within your environment. So I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing a bit about your product, your ecosystem, and all the great things that you have going on. And again, you can find us April 14th through the 16th here in Houston, AI Experience, and we look forward to seeing you. You can check us out, theAIXP.com. Get your tickets now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Crystal. Always great to see you.
Always great. Thank you.